focusing in on Excel and specifically Excel and using names. So we'll talk about how to create a basic name in this video. And we'll expand on that and go over naming ranges, using names in formulas, and so on and so forth. So for right now, I just want to talk about basic cell naming. And every cell in Excel already has a name, and it's the column letter followed by the row number. So if I was to say, oh, we need to go look at information in, let's just say B7, you would know that's column B, row 7. I'm talking about the total for January. So that's fine. And in the larger spreadsheets, this can actually become a little bit more cumbersome. So it can be useful to apply names to cells other than their default cell name, which is of course column letter followed by the row number. So this can be done in several ways in Excel. Probably the easiest way though is using the name box. And this has been around for quite a few versions of Excel. And you're going to find it directly to the left of your formula bar. It's called the name box. And it always tells you what cell you're currently in. It tells you the active cell, because if I do have a range of cells selected, it's just telling me B2, but that's the active cell in the range. So if I were to click on B7, and I said to myself, you know what, I would like to give this a more appropriate name. I want to call this Jan Total. Well, what I can do is once I've clicked in that cell, I can just simply click in the name box, not the drop down arrow, but just click the name box, and it highlights it in blue. And then I could actually type the name I want to use. Now there's a couple rules with names. First rule, they can't start with a number. Okay, so they cannot begin with a number. They would have to begin with a letter or character. And no spaces. Second rule, no spaces in names. Third rule, you can't have two names within the same sheet or workbook called the same thing. So once January sales, I've used it, it is then done. So I'm going to type in the name I want to use. I'm going to hit enter. It removes my cursor from the name box and applies that name to that cell. So this is going to be useful in several situations. First situation is navigation. If I have a very complex spreadsheet and I've taken the time to name appropriate cells, well, I can get to those cells quickly now. I can actually click this drop down arrow next to the name box. I can choose Jan Sales, and you see it's jumped my selection right there. So if this was a very large spreadsheet, I've given it appropriate names, well, I can get to those sections, those different areas of my spreadsheet really quickly. Also helpful for people that don't really know Excel. I could explain where the name box is to get the relevant information they need to get. So we can use this to actually navigate to a particular area. One other item we should go over with this is how to manage your names, because the name box is fine for applying names, but not very useful when we want to remove a name or edit a name. So to do that, to delete a name or edit a name or see what names you have in a spreadsheet, this can be achieved by going to the Formulas tab and clicking on the button in the middle here called Name Manager. That pops up the Name Manager. It will list out any names that you have, the current value in the cell, the name, and you can of course edit the name, or you can even delete the name here as well. So that's kind of the basics of naming. I realize it's extra work to do, but in certain situations this can actually be very useful for navigation, making the spreadsheet a little bit more easy to use and easy to move around in. On top of that, we get added functionality when we talk about formulas, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to save that for later, and be sure to check out tomorrow's video where we'll talk about applying a name to a range of cells.